Some stories crawl out of the grave. Others are buried beneath ice and silence. From the bone-dry heart of the Australian outback to the snow-blind trails of Siberia, terror doesn't knock, it waits. Here, we tell the tales that stay with you long after the fire's gone out. Zombies, vanished hikers, unsolved deaths, end-of-the-world whispers that echo through time. This is Aussie After Dark, the place where the line between fact and fear disappears. So light a candle, lock the doors, and don't blink. Because the story you're about to hear might just be true. And if you can take a second to subscribe, it really motivates and helps to continue these stories. Well, anyway, let's join Mason once more. The tunnel in Blake's death was long behind us, swallowed by silence and smoke. The sky above was bruised with ash, the air stale with the rot of a city that didn't know it was already dead. I led them, 33 souls, 8 officers, and a weight I couldn't put down. Every footstep echoed in my bones. Every breath tasted like another promise I might not keep. Travis scouted ahead, his shoulder still stiff from the last ambush, but the bastard moved like iron. Wouldn't show pain, not in front of them. Naya walked in front of me, 14 years old, a child on paper. But that bat she carried, it might as well have been forged from the wreckage of her old life. She didn't flinch anymore, not at blood, not at screams, not even at death. Jenny moved like a ghost through the group, checking flanks, whispering orders. Her voice steady, clipped, never panicked. She locked eyes with me as we crossed a half-collapsed intersection. "We find cover by dusk," she said. "Dutton Park Station's the next checkpoint. If we're lucky, they've cleared the path to the extraction point." If we're lucky. That word meant nothing now. Luck was a dead god, and we were marching through its grave. We passed through the remains of old Queenslanders, those classic stilt houses now leaning like crooked teeth. Rotting wood, shattered windows, doors blown open from when people still thought they could run. Inside one, I saw a child's shoe next to a dried-up blood smear. A life stopped mid-step. Yusuf and Donnie took point through the houses. 2 kids I'd found in the tunnel barely 3 days ago, half-starved, eyes wide with feral fear. Now? They moved like scouts, cleared rooms like they'd done it for years. Yusuf had the sharper instincts, quick with a knife, quicker with silence. Danny was more deliberate, methodical. She always double-checked a room, always looked back at me before giving the all-clear. They weren't just survivors anymore. They were ours. Naya called out to me from a crumbling hallway. I ducked inside. She was standing in front of an old wooden mantelpiece, dust curling in the slivers of sunlight, bleeding through a cracked roof. She held a diary in one hand, tattered, water-damaged. Her voice was flat as she read. December 9th. Sam says the coughing is worse. We're not letting the neighbors in. We can't. I hate this. I hate it. The words hung in the air, and no one said a thing, because we'd all heard those thoughts in our own heads. I looked around the room, at the peeling wallpaper, the family photos still clinging to the wall, half melted in heat. A little boy's drawing on the fridge. Crayon handwriting that read, "I love Mum." Another house that didn't make it. Another echo of what we used to be. I didn't speak. I couldn't. Not when the weight of their faces, the ones still breathing and the ones already gone, pressed against the back of my skull. Extraction wasn't far. Dutton Park was close. But I knew better than to hope. This world didn't hand out clean endings, only choices. And the cost of keeping these people alive. We entered the underpass beneath the highway just as the sun dipped below the jagged skyline. It was the kind of quiet that screamed. No wind, no birds, No echo of distant traffic. Just our footsteps. Just breathe. I gripped my rifle tighter. My finger hovered over the safety. Naya glanced back at me. Even she felt it. The stillness that came before something awful. Then, pfft, a flare cracked through the gloom overhead. Red, hissing like a warning from hell itself. The light painted everything in blood. And then, drop your gear. Shouts, echoes, movement. They poured out of the shadows. 6, 10? Maybe more. Hard to tell with the chaos. One wore a rotting dog mask, slobber crusted around the snout. Another had army fatigues, but the patches were sewn on wrong, like a child dressing up in the corpse of a soldier. Scavengers, desperate, mean, starving. But we weren't the easy kind of prey. Travis moved first. His shot cracked through the air and dropped the masked one before he even spoke again. Skull split clean. Jenny didn't wait. She charged. Full tackle, slamming one into a concrete pillar. The sound of her elbow hitting jaw was wet and final. A young girl screamed. Naya was already there, bat up. She threw herself in front of the child and swung wide. The bat caught a man's ribs, and I swear I heard bone collapse like a kicked-in door. She didn't stop. The second swing crushed his temple. He dropped like a bag of meat. Gunfire. Screams. Myers fired from the center of the group, protecting the civilians like a living wall. 3 shots. 3 bodies. Clean. Cold. Then Elspeth cried out. A bullet or blade had torn a line across her upper arm. Blood soaked through her jacket. Still, she kept firing. Roland took one down in a tackle, military style. But the bastard had a knife. I saw it slide into Roland's thigh. He screamed. Went down. I moved. Put a round into the scab's spine. Close now. Too close. A man lunged at me with a crowbar, teeth gnashing. I ducked, grabbed his wrist, and drove the butt of my rifle into his throat. He gargled blood as he collapsed. 2 of them ran, fast, limping. Cowards, maybe. Or just people trying to stay alive. I didn't order a chase. The last one, young, maybe 19, stared at me. Frozen. Eyes wide. Shaking. I lowered my rifle just a hair. Run, I told him. He did. We watched him go. Not out of mercy, out of strategy. Let them know what we are. Let them spread the story. We are not prey. We dragged the wounded into a partially collapsed pharmacy nearby. Its roof caved in, pill bottles scattered across the floor like spent shells. We posted guards at the entrances. Sealing the doors tight, Jenny moved like a medic forged in fire. No hesitation, no wasted motion. But this time, she wasn't alone. A few of the civilians, those who'd proved their mettle, stepped up to help. One held clean cloths, steady, while Jenny dressed Elspeth's wound with steady hands. Another passed bandages and water, quiet but determined. Someone else gently held Roland's hand as Jenny stitched his thigh. His teeth clenched tight against the pain that pooled onto the cold tiles. Jenny's voice didn't waver, even as exhaustion crept in. Mine almost did. I looked down at the blood drying on the floor, on my boots, on Naya's bat. This world didn't allow innocence anymore. Only grit. Only teeth. And tomorrow, we'd march again. Toward the next checkpoint. Toward the extraction zone. But tonight? We held the line. Just a little longer. Naya sat beside Roland, her bat resting against the wall. You were brave. Dumb. But brave. Roland grinned through the pain. I was a professor. I argued for a living. This was easier. We needed laughter, even if it hurt. We stayed. For the first time in days, we stayed. The pharmacy was half collapsed, the roof sagging on the east end, but it was dry. Defensible. Surrounded by broken concrete and a tangle of ruined streets that gave us clear lines of sight. We found a rain tank behind the alley. The water was murky, but it kept us breathing. Jenny said we needed 72 hours. Minimum. Time for Roland to recover. Time for Elspeth's wound to stop weeping. Time for our people, to remember what it meant to rest. I hated it at first. Sitting still. Felt like inviting death to knock. But I watched the others, Naya, Travis, Danny, Yusuf, trying to make something human in the cracks. And I remembered that survival wasn't the same as living. Day 1, we stripped the shelves clean. Most of the meds had been looted already, but Elspeth found antibiotics hidden in a drop ceiling. Naya built a crude barrier out of metal shelving near the door. She wrapped her fingers in gauze, splinters, and blood from too many fights. Travis slept with one eye open, back to the wall. When I brought him water, he didn't thank me, just nodded once. That was enough. Jenny didn't sleep. She checked vitals, rotated bandages, whispered encouragement to people who'd forgotten what kindness sounded like. I sat by the broken window and watched the city cough up smoke in the distance. Day 2. Danny and Yusuf, those 2 tunnel rats we pulled out, they earned their place, scouting every morning, setting perimeter alarms with crushed cans and broken glass. Danny found a radio under a collapsed filing cabinet. It hissed static, but for 5 full seconds, we heard a voice. Extraction still viable. Checkpoint Delta. Hold position if possible. It cut out. Jenny looked at me. Extraction's real. I nodded. Then we get them there, all of them. Naya climbed to the pharmacy roof that night. I joined her. We didn't speak at first, just watched the stars blink through the haze. Then she asked, "Do you think it's still out there? Somewhere safe?" "I don't know," I said. "But if it is, we'll get you there." She didn't reply, just leaned her head against my shoulder. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something other than weight.
Day 3.
Roland stood for the first time since the scavenger ambush, leaned on Yusuf, laughed when Danny offered him a broom as a cane. We cooked, real food. A scavenged tin of soup and some wild onions Naya found growing in a crack of sidewalk. It wasn't much, but it smelled like life. Jenny finally sat down beside me. First time I'd seen her exhale. "We're not police officers anymore," she said. "We're caretakers." "No," I said. "We're both. We have to be." She looked at me for a long time. "You ever think about what comes after this?" "All the time." "Me too. But only now does it feel like it might actually happen." That night, the pharmacy felt like a home. A ruined, half-broken home, but one with voices and warmth. Travis played cards with Elspeth. Roland told a story about his university days that made Naya and Lily actually laugh. Danny and Yusuf argued about whether to call the Bat, Midnight, or Hope Crusher, and I sat there, watching the people I'd bled for, fought for. We weren't healed. Not yet. But we were together, and that meant we still had a chance.